Welcome to the KSS, the knowledge sharing session. Get ready for a conversation that will inform, inspire, and ignite new perspectives. And just as the saying goes, that two heads are better than one. So we're doubling down on brilliance today because joining me on the show are two incredible guests from the tech space. They're here ready to share their experience and drop some knowledge like it's hot. So what are you waiting for? Get your popcorn, your pens, your papers ready. When we come back from this quick break, I'll be revealing our guests. Don't go nowhere. This is the KSS, and my name is Poppy Kalu. Welcome back to the KSS, guys. And without further ado, allow me to introduce our guests. And the first one here is Mr. Osita Nwangu. So this guy started as a software developer at Tennessee, and he built the framework that is used for software development currently. And now he works at Money Pigeon as a product manager. Guys, meet the Ayamatanga.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. How's it going?
Good afternoon, Ayamatanga. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
And our next guest is Ezra Eliezer, who is deeply committed in transforming the tech industry in Africa. This guy has championed several initiatives that have empowered women and young people in digital skills. He's also an alumnus of the International Visitors Leadership Program organized by the US Department of State. Ladies and gentlemen, Ezra Eliezer, the birthday boy.
Birthday boy.
And we have something for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Please.
Thank you.
When did you do it on my own birthday?
Is it your birthday?
Oh, sorry.
It's his birthday,
It's
and it's on the
literally my
KSS.
But it's not my birthday.
And so, on behalf of the KSS, I present these cupcakes to this awesome guy here, Ezra, our birthday boy.
Thank you so much, Poppy. Thank you so much, the KSS team. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Bye, bro.
So, Ezra, before we get into the show proper, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I placed a bet on you. I told myself that you were going to wear a senator to this show.
Uh-oh.
And you did not disappoint. Like right here, you're wearing. I even said it was going to be a pink senator.
Oh.
Then that was like little.
No, I'm mourning
confusion.
my previous years. That's why I'm wearing black.
Oh my God.
Black.
Happy birthday once again.
Thank you so much, Poppy.
All right. So, Ayamatanga, this question goes to you. You know this trending surge that tech is the new money. I mean, if you're not into tech, what are you doing with your life? Tech is like how you get fast and easy money. So what's your opinion on this to beginners with this mindset?
I think it's the wrong mindset. I'm one of those people that believe that, a career in tech is like any other career, really. And it's just because, there is a serious lack of opportunities around here. That's why we make a big deal out of it. Because, if you look at the numbers from really developed countries in the world, you'll notice that there is nothing special about being in tech. The same amount of money you probably earn as a senior software engineer is probably less than what a finance guy earns somewhere, in the States and stuff like that. So I just think that, the first thing is that I don't think there's anything special about being in tech. It's great to have a career in tech, but I believe that it's just like any other career. And if you're going into it for the money, sorry to disappoint you. I don't know. You're probably not going to get much.
Okay.
You're probably not going to get much. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's like every other career path. It is tough. It's filled with its own challenges, and you really have to put in a lot of work to get to the point where you can earn that kind of money that you're looking for. So yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, there's money. It's not easy money.
It's not easy money. It's definitely not easy money.
Okay. How about you, Eliezer? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think the parallel to draw is whatever career you decide to choose, whatever career you decide to work on, and you put the required number of time, resilience, intelligence, you're going to make money from it. Even there are garbage collectors in the United States that drive Teslas. Okay, so it means that the same thing is also applicable in tech. So the key thing there is not about even the tech. Tech is a vehicle. Tech is anybody can do tech. Anybody can do another career. But the idea there is your ability, your oomph, doing stuff to the next level, cultivating a culture of continuous learning, understanding deferred compensation, etc., etc. Only then will tech now work as a money scheme. Definitely not a get-rich quick scheme, but a career at the end of the day.
That makes sense. All right. Ayamatanga, you started off as a software developer.
Yeah, I'd like to say software engineer so
Okay,
that you won't
software engineer.
mistake what I'm doing or
Okay.
what I used to do.
Okay, software. You started off as a software engineer. So at what point do you think it was time to transition and why product management?
Well, funny thing is that I didn't transition to product management immediately. When I got out of school, I was a software engineer, and at the time, I mean, I used to be a good enough software engineer, but I
Okay.
never saw myself as an outstanding engineer. I was great. I knew how to do my job. I knew how to get things done. But I never really saw myself doing that, at a very big level. And
Okay.
being the kind of person that I am, I'm very curious. I like to try new things all the time. So when we started out the Learnable program, or when we wanted to change the structure of the Learnable program in 2017 or 2018, I was told to get on it.
Okay.
And somehow it just speaks to my ability to wade in new waters. Do things that things that people haven't done before. And I saw it as a challenge, going into learning and development, helping
Okay.
to train people, building programs, and managing and coordinating them, especially in the technology space. It was something that I found very exciting. It was new. Before then, I had done engineering. I started writing code in 2012, so I had done it for 5 to 6 years more or less. So I told myself, maybe it's time to do something new and exciting. So I went into designing training programs, learning and development,
Okay.
and things like that. And I didn't know it was time to transition. There was an opportunity,
Okay.
and I was curious enough, and maybe I would say courageous enough to say, what, because then a lot of my friends and colleagues were engineers, so
Okay.
a lot of them will look at you and say, Osita, you're sure you want to stop coding? I'll be like, yeah. And engineering at the time felt like the safe thing to do.
Okay.
If you're writing your code, you're delivering, it's definitely going to be easy for you to get that big remote job and do stuff. I mean, engineers were in very, very, very high demand at the time, but it didn't really seem like something that I just wanted to continue doing. So I said, let me go try something else out. And I mean, it provided an opportunity for me to learn, which is something that I like doing.
Okay.
So I like being able to learn new things, implement them, see that they are happening, and see that they're working. Sometimes they don't work. It's not everything that I do that works, but
Okay.
yeah.
Wow, nice. So there was no time, it didn't happen. I mean, the opportunity just posed and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
were courageous enough to
Yeah. The
grab it.
opportunity just showed up. Some people would want to go through this whole motivational switch kind of thing where you go and say, yeah, and when I didn't know when
Yeah.
it was time to change. I was even
Okay.
advised by my manager at the time, Namdi, and he said that I think you can do this thing and I think you should do it. And you get, and that was all I needed to,
Interesting. All right, Ezra, going through your IG, sometimes I'll see you with P2B. The next time I'm seeing you with Trump running his
No, I
campaign.
don't run
Next time
Trump's
I'm seeing you in the
campaign.
White House. So can you tell us about your time in the US, as an alumnus of the International Visitors
Yeah.
Leadership Program?
Oh, thank you so much. The US is always fun for me. My brother stays there, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's a nice repast. But it's especially fun when the US government is paying for your flights, your accommodation, and giving you stipends. So it was cool. And then, apart from it being cool, it was also, what's the word I'm looking for here? Humbling, where I had a very intense conversation with Osita when I got back about how far back we were in terms of catching up.
Okay.
I was at the University of Austin in Texas, and we had a couple of young people, 18, 19, that had been working on the startup for 10 years. And the startup was called the Firebot. So they had robots that could withstand heat temperatures of up to 6,000
Wow.
Celsius that could go into burning buildings and stop the fire. So imagine what that does for firefighters.
Wow.
And before they got there, they had interviewed hundreds of thousands of firefighters. There are about 350,000 firefighters in the United States, and they had interviewed like 100,000 or so to get to that point. And the school had given them a lab, given them 3D tools, given them everything that they could use to do this.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. We talk about the triple helix of innovation: academia, government, and industry. And if you come down to Nigeria, I schooled in a Nigerian university. I did computer science. I wrote C++ on a piece of paper. in my 200 level. In fact,
Disheartening.
I stopped coding also, but I would have stopped a lot earlier if I didn't find Genesis in 2017. If Osita, they didn't like literally bring me in and then show me that there are other things to coding than what it was because the school was so bad. So in the United States, we're exposed to opportunities. So we had like, I think I visited 4 cities, 5 cities actually: Atlanta, Washington, tri-state area, Minnesota, Austin, and then Denver. And in all of these places, we had conversations with members of government. When I was in Washington, we were with members of Congress. And it was interesting because even though people in Congress are politicians, the support staff that they had were all PhD holders from Stanford University. And I don't know if this is the right place to say that, but the day I was in Congress and they introduced the staffers as
Yeah.
PhD graduates of
Yeah.
Stanford. Stanford is one of the top universities in the world. The Speaker of the House of Reps in Nigeria announced Eniola Badmus as a special advisor on public hearing. And it was
Are
just
you
so bad.
serious?
And it was so bad because a lot of the questions I was now asking was, how did you guys do this 100 years ago? In
Yeah.
Denver, the Ministry of Health, we're talking about, Department of Health for Denver, talking about how they figured out sharing data internally. So if you're sick in this hospital, you go to another hospital, they can just go online and access your data. But the problem is how to share across state lines. And I told them that even in a hospital, the orthopedic department and the general surgery department, they don't even communicate. So somebody can even come with malaria. Nobody has access to their records. They give them saline and then they die. So it was nice in the sense that I experienced a lot of things, but it was deeply humbling in the sense that as a collective, we have so much to do. In
So
fact, that's why
yeah.
when I came back, I came back with renewed vigor. I decided that I wanted to see what I could do to make this skill and be better. But it's bad, man. It's bad, puppy.
You already answered my follow-up question because I was going to ask how this has impacted your work, but then you just said it now that it's renewed your vigor to
Yeah,
want to do better when you go back.
exactly. So, but it also impacted my work in a lot of positive ways, not just the negative renewal of vigor. There were lots of partnerships that I was able to build.
Okay.
First of all, we came from 17 different countries: Barbados, Norway, India, and all of this. And first of all, the first thing we did was we all had partnerships amongst ourselves. And then a lot of the places we visited had things that were right up my alley. So that also assisted in terms of that. So I had partnerships, I had conversations, and then ultimately I also had a lot of things that we carried back and we're trying to implement. Because ultimately we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Since people have done this and it has worked, we're trying to also, you know,
Make it
copy
better.
this. So it
Yeah.
was a life-changing experience for me. And for me, it's the implementation that it matters.
All right, that's nice. Ayamatanga, so from what he said now, you're still going to talk on that. How do you position yourself for international jobs or gigs? Yeah, let's say jobs or opportunities.
There's this saying, what's that saying about talent?
Brilliance is distributed
Yeah,
evenly, opportunity isn't.
I think I saying,
brilliance is evenly distributed. Like there are brilliant people everywhere,
okay,
and I some time in the past, I've always been an advocate of try and position yourself so that the white people are going to see you, and then they are going to like you, and then they will want to get you to work for them. But I'm not doing that anymore.
Oh.
No, I'm not doing that anymore.
that's strange.
Yeah, I recently started building a fintech with some friends of mine.
Okay.
We're building something for travelers so that you can spend money locally, wherever you travel to and stuff like that. So about positioning yourself for international jobs, maybe I'll just speak about things that have happened in my past.
Okay.
And like I would always say, there is nothing special about it. There is nothing special about it. As I've come to realize. Then it felt very special to me, reaching out to this company in America, and someone recommends you for a job, and you go through the interview, and you scale through, and you start working with them, and they start paying you this real big money, and then you just wake up one Monday morning and you open your laptop and you realize, hey, I'm working with white people. But there's nothing special about it. You come to realize that there are regular Joes, they do their jobs, they make mistakes. Some of them don't meet up with their KPIs and things like that. So, they are very regular people. I just think that because they live in better climes, of course, it provides certain like economic advantages for you. So being able to earn in forex, and things like that. And for positioning, I honestly didn't have to position myself. I honestly didn't have to position myself. I signed up to a platform, and someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're doing this thing where we're talking to people in emerging markets, like talents in emerging markets, like Africa and the Middle East. Would you like to hop on the call?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Let me hop on the call." I mesmerized the person that I had the call with, and they recommended me for a position with their company, and it just happened like that. So, of course, I just think if you're great at what you do, if you're committed to what you do, if you're really brilliant at it, if you're excellent, you have the right attitude, that's just what it takes, to do any of those things.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I was going to say that because when you said you applied for something and then you were brilliant, it's not like you're bragging, but then
No, I'm not bragging. That's who
It's
I
a
am.
statement of facts. You are a brilliant man,
so you
sir.
didn't have to do
It's
too
just
much.
who I am.
You're a very
Yeah.
brilliant man.
How about you, Ezra? Do you have a contrary opinion?
Yes, I'm also a brilliant man. I don't have
Please,
a
oh,
contrary.
please.
Yeah, so I don't think it's contrary or contrarian for want of it, but it's a little bit not as nuanced as Osita. Obviously, anyway, comes from this especially when you've put yourself and you go there and it's not all that, you understand? But the fact that people have experienced it, still, I feel the approach should be how do you even get jobs? Not even how do you position for foreign jobs, right? Because the positioning for foreign jobs, trust me, there's nothing different that you do from positioning for a local job. You still need to know what you're doing. You still need to apply. You still need to prepare. You still need to be able to sell yourself, and you need to be able to show the work that you've done.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's a better view than saying, how do you get remote jobs? How do you get foreign jobs, right? Better, how do you get remote jobs? Because there are Nigerian remote jobs, there are African remote jobs, there are European remote jobs, and there are American remote jobs. So for me, it starts with self-improvement. It starts with, every time we're trying to make people get better, we start with a self-perception test. Who are you? What do you know? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? When you have that, you're able to improve on your weaknesses, scale on your strengths. You also need to obviously touch up your CV because a lot of these people, not just the foreign jobs, even the local jobs, use ATS systems and they would want to scan this. So you need to use like a resume.io or some of these, even LinkedIn has the feature to create a CV. So you use those things, have an optimized CV, then you start applying. It's really a numbers game. There's no hard or fast way to it. There's a lot of luck to it, but luck that does not make preparation is nothing. So even though you're hoping that the first application comes out, it's possible is that your 50th or 100th. Remember a couple of my friends that applied for like 500 jobs, and at the end of the day, when they got one, then after like, some of the people still even getting back to them. So, but at the end of the day, they got one. So it's a numbers game. So, but what it means that since it's a numbers game, it means that fatigue can set in, mental fatigue can set in. So there's also that whole part about being there for yourself, for want of a better word, being there for yourself so that once this sets in, you don't necessarily stop applying or maybe take a break and come back stronger until you get a job. But in all of these things, you also need to set goals in terms of targets. How much you want to earn? What particularly do you want to do? Do you want to do mid-level? Do you want to do senior roles? You can also try by cold emailing, especially designers. A lot of designers I know would go to websites and redesign it and send an email and say, this is the website I saw, this is what I think is better. And some of them have gotten jobs from that, especially in the Web3 space. So even though there's no hard or fast way, I feel that there are a lot of things that you do to ultimately prepare you so that when you apply for these jobs, you get one of them.
No doubt, you guys are brilliant. No, I give it to you. You guys are brilliant.
She's stating the obvious fact.
Oh, pride.
Yeah.
All right, Ezra, I was listening to one podcast you did, and there you were talking about how to navigate your tech career, and then you mentioned some cool points, but then two stood out for me. That's networking and mentorship.
Yes.
So being in the midst of a mentor and his mentee,
Yeah.
I mean, is that relationship still on?
We came here. We came in the same vehicle. We had
Guys,
lunch
this is
together.
Ayamatanga's mentee. This is
Yes.
Ezra's mentor. So I
Yes.
feel like you guys are the camels right now. So let's hear from the camel's mouth. What is the importance of mentorship in any career?
Yeah, okay. You want to
Who's
go?
go? Is the mentor going first or the mentee?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Mentorship. You know, people don't understand particularly how much more easier, right, it gets when there is somebody that has walked the walk, talked the talk, and is now giving you advice from that
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah.
especially if you have a lot in common. So I had a lot of things in common with Osita
Okay.
when we met. It was interesting because, growing up in Nigeria, usually you're the smartest person in the room, and then you meet a smarter person, and you're like,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
And so that's how it was for me, because I was in 300 level I was still in college, and Usta, I applied for a job at Genesis, an internship. Usta interviewed me. Usually those interviews take, I think, 3 or 5 minutes, but Usta and I spent like 10, 12 minutes on the phone. Network was bad because I was in Iko. And he kept on calling me and calling me. And the time I landed, he said, "Are you Eliezer?" I said, "Yes." And literally, that's how we started. Until the point where during my internship, we had a beer. That was like his right of entry. If you've not had a beer with Osita, are you really a friend? Are you really a mentee? And then, interestingly, too, I used to code before,
Okay.
right?
Oh.
Even though from Osita did coding, design, and product management, I did coding, social media,
Social media
training,
what?
social media handling. I was running Genesis Tech Up social media.
Interesting.
That was the first professional job I had, and I was so good at it also. So that's the thing about brilliance, you can touch other things and then they
Please.
still end up working.
Stick to your script.
Yeah, legit though. But yeah, like I did social media, and even in social media, I had like, Osa just told me, sound like yourself, because at the time we were very robotic, and it was just, and that's what I did. So people could tell that this Genesis social media was popping, and then from there I went into training, and from training I now understudied Osita in learning and development,
Okay.
where I now ran program management at Genesis Tech Hub, which is also similar to what Osita did, apart from like the product design. And he went more technical. I went more in the L&D side, and for him it was obviously a tougher part because he legit had to start from like figure things out on his own. Like there was
Mentor.
no what's this the Archimedes guy? What did he say when he floated?
I cannot remember.
Eureka. There was no Eureka moment for
Okay,
Osita
okay.
where he said, "I will do product design." No Eureka moment where he said, "I will do product
So you're just
management."
winging it.
Opportunities came, he embraced them. So what it means that the path was not as clear for him as it was for me because I was able to leverage on his experiences. And that's what mentorship does. Mentors, and they have such a wide world view. They've experienced some of these things,
Yeah.
and they're telling you how to do it better. So
their
you're standing on the shoulder of giants. Obviously, you're going to see further. But for me, I think the question should also even be around the symbiosis that can come in mentorship, where there's a mentor to mentee, but there's also a mentee to mentor kind of relationship, where you ask yourself, what value can I give
offer
my
to the
mentor?
mentor, yeah.
It could be that you're good in social media,
Yeah.
so start posting, like help them make their social media pop.
Yeah.
Could be that you're good at FIFA, for instance, invite them to play games,
Okay.
so that they don't have like a one-dimensional life. But ultimately, mentors come and they help you grow, they help you scale. It's also important to understand that the mentor-mentee relationship is not a one-of-one. Mentors have multiple mentees. Mentees can also have multiple mentors. So I
Yeah.
have somebody that mentors me financially.
Okay.
I'm bad in finances. I have somebody that mentors me in productivity.
Okay.
Like I am bad at productivity. And I have somebody that keeps the fire in my brain burning. I am a tanga. You understand? So yeah, that's my perspective.
All right. So before I get to Ayamatanga, you mentioned symbiosis. So what was he feeding off you?
First of all, my great sense of humor. As you all know, I am one of the funniest men alive. Like I crack myself the fuck up.
Do you agree to that?
Yeah, he's a funny
okay.
guy.
I'm a funny
Alright, go
guy.
on.
And then I read a lot
Okay.
as a kid, you understand? So I was able to have proper conversations with Osita that he wouldn't have found. Like we both read Reader's Digest, legit. A lot of people did. I've never heard of Reader's Digest. We read Newsweek. So we're able to reminisce and go
Same
on
frequency.
exactly and talk on these frequencies. And then at that time I was a single man, so I was
You brought a woman to his life.
A woman.
Or you became his woman? I
A,
don't, I don't, like, I mean, where are you getting to with that?
he was a single man at the time, so and I was just out of college, so I had a lot of friends around, so I would introduce some friends to Osita, once in a while. Hey, Osita, meet this very fine friend of mine. Osita
Hey,
says hi.
Matanga, was that a good symbiosis?
I mean, yes, it's good to meet people.
You're up social. You're a social person.
I'm a very social person. I like meeting people. I like networking.
That's that
And things
networking
like
she
that.
asked
So
about.
it's
I
really
helped him
about
network.
networking.
I also helped him network. It wasn't about you're seeing it from that. No, no, no. It's about the networking opportunities that I had
Okay.
with these young, beautiful women that I brought into his life. And then, at some point, I was also able to contribute technically. So he could write something and say, Ezra, can you look at this?
Okay.
He could call me, can we brainstorm on this? And then to the point where we consulted on a project together for like a multinational company and did like a whole system, what's the word? Like a system overhaul for them. So that has been the symbiosis.
Oh, brilliant. So we've come back to you, Ayamatanga. What's your opinion on mentorship?
Well, I think that I think everyone needs a mentor. Like Ezra, rightfully said, you need people that have walked the walk, to show you the way. I'm a big product of my mentors. Like, there are people
Okay.
that have, and for me, it's always been, it's usually very tough for me to listen to people. I know they hear word. Did you get that? I'm a very stubborn person.
Okay.
But I mean, there are people that you see and you realize that, these people have something that I obviously do not have.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And they are great people. Do you understand? They might not be the ethicals and head up in the clouds, kind of people, but you know that these people are great men and they definitely know a lot more than you about a lot,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
of the other thing. So I'm somebody that believes in the power of that mentor mentee relationship, and then there are people that form you. So I'll give you an instance. Before before I started the learnable coordinating the learnable program, I had a problem with execution.
Okay.
So because I'm an ideas person, I'm someone that I'm constantly coming up with ideas of how to do things. A whole lot of things are going on in my mind. I'm curious, I'm learning. I always found it difficult to start something and finish it, right?
Yeah.
So I get bored easily. So I get to the middle of something and I feel like, okay, I've proven to myself that I can do this thing.
Yeah.
What is the next thing that I can do? But I had people in my life that will tell me that, hey, no,
You have to finish it.
you must see this thing through.
Yeah.
We must get to the end of it. Sometimes I'm burnt out and everything, and they still come back and tell me, no, when you wake up tomorrow, this is your job. You're going to do it and you're going to do well at it. So I think that for me, that's one of the takeaways from having mentors. But all around, I advise people always, and when people think about having a mentor, they always think about this big person in society
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. It could be your supervisor, it could be a colleague that is just older than you.
Yeah.
I've even I've had people that, like, okay, I'll give you an instance. I had a poor social life. There was a time that I was a proper nerd,
I can't imagine
yeah,
that.
Yes,
I mean, I
yes,
can't
I
imagine you
finish
being
from
that.
work, I go home, I stay in my house, press my phone till the next morning, and stuff like that. But I met people like Nino that will say,
Okay.
you know what, come outside, let's go to the club and,
Okay.
and drink, let's meet people, let's do things like this. So that's how little by little I built a social life, made friends and things like that. So I think that mentors come in different forms, shapes and sizes,
Yeah.
and I think it's something that everyone should take advantage of.
So you guys recommend mentorship?
Yeah, of course I do.
100,
Of course
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
100.
All right, noted. So back to you, Ezra. You mentioned how you enjoyed your time in Minnesota, Austin. You mentioned so many places. So what are your favorite places so far?
It has to be Minnesota.
What about it?
Interestingly, Minnesota has like a white population of 85%, but I didn't experience any of what comes with that. So it was interesting for me for two reasons. One, my hotel was the Marriott. The Marriott is just next to Target Center. It's a basketball
Okay.
arena for the Minnesota Wolves. So I watched my first NBA game there. I love basketball. We used to play basketball together back in the
Okay.
day. I literally wore my LeBron shoes And when there was it's on my Instagram, literally. Like it was nice. It was really nice. Number one. Number two, I've always been a fan of the arts, Osita too, right? But my being Nigerian in Nigeria, right, kind of hindered that expression to the fact that it was now a third party consumption kind of thing where I'm
Okay.
seeing what's happening online and I'm associating with that. So the first time ever, I went to an opera. It was La Boheme. It's a comedy, sort of. But I was crying. And the
Why?
interesting thing, yeah, I am an emotional person. I can read a book and cry at the end. But La Boheme, it was French. It was supposed to be a comedy, but it was so emotional for me that I got overcome. And I knew that I loved the opera. That was like my confirmation. And I've decided that, in fact, my next European tour would literally just be about going to
Opera.
different. In fact, I went to Lagos the other time because there was a Muson Center
Yeah,
showing
sorry.
of, it
Sorry.
was horrible though, but I went there. Regardless, that's the Nigerian in Nigeria thing. And then I went to a live play at the Guthrie Theatre.
Okay.
So that was nice. So it allowed me to express my cultural aspect. I even went thrift shopping. I bought a jacket for $5. It was nice. So Minnesota was an all-encompassing experience for me
Okay,
because
so Minnesota.
Minnesota my best city so far.
Okay. All right. So even though what you guys have mentioned so far seems all rosy, I'm very sure there are some hitches. So what are some challenges you guys have faced in your respective roles, and how were you able to overcome them? Ezra.
I think my one has been people. People.
How?
Yeah, people. It's challenging when you work with people because, especially when you're managing people or when people are managing you, people basically, human beings, the human factor. Because we talk about how everybody's unique, but what it means is that the uniqueness of everybody means that everybody has their perks, everybody has their quirks, their idiosyncrasies,
Yeah.
and it comes into it comes into like work. The kind of person I am also an ideas person. Unlike Osta who has tried to now work because as a product manager you have to push like you work in sprints, so you literally have to start and finish. I've been able to scale by being just an idea person. What I do is that I combine myself with an implementer.
Okay.
So like Tapi is a friend of mine. He's an implementer. So when we
Okay.
do programs together, I do the ideation, I do the planning, I write all the beautiful documents, and I send to him, and he implements it, and it works perfectly. So, but sometimes when you're managing people, a lot of things now come. You have to consider them. You have to care about them. You have to take things at face value. You have to hope they don't take things at face value.
Yeah.
You have to also strive for excellence in other people. It's easy to strive for excellence in yourself
Yeah.
because it's me, right? But when you now have to now work with other people, you're like, you do well, carry yourself to this level is difficult. And then when people now want to strive you to their own levels of excellence, I'm a very lazy person. I'm a very tardy person.
I'm surprised.
Surprised?
Yeah.
Are you surprised? I'm lazy and I'm tardy, yeah? So my boss is none of these things. So he expects us to be at the office at 8. I obviously would come at 10. Okay. And it's a problem, you understand? So that would also be a problem. And then I think it's also in lack of foundational knowledge. People don't do enough to even start so that they're just scaffolding on things that like you're just building castles in the air. So when you now try to probe as to why, as to how, they can only tell you the what. So why is this happening? How did this happen? Why did this not happen? How did this not happen? Because they don't understand it from the foundational perspective. They are not able to get it. And I think ultimately Nigeria has also been a factor. I think that's self-explanatory. You're Nigerian, I'm Nigerian, we're all Nigerians. It also happens that so these have been some challenges I've
Yeah,
faced.
you mentioned challenges. So how have you been overcoming these challenges? People
Oh,
factor,
so
Nigerian factor.
number one, the people factor. As you've established, I'm a very brilliant person, yes. I am also quite empathetic, right?
Okay.
And I'm a people person. So I just decide most times to infuse my interactions with just warmth, right?
Okay.
So people like me enough to want to do stuff for me and not frustrate me, right? So
Yeah.
I'm nicer to people. I make jokes with colleagues, with direct reports, with supervisors. The first rule of corporate work is know what you're doing, and the second rule is be likable. People need to like you, your boss needs to like you, your colleagues need to like you, so that as much as possible they don't hinder your work, they don't hinder what you do. So that has been that. Then my uh, my ideas focused kind of person. I overcame that by working with people who are implementers. I know that. So either I work with people that are implementers or I hire assistants that will be texting me in the morning. Well, hire is a big word. My friends, I'll beg them. So Goma will text me in the morning and say, "Hey, task." I will now text all the tasks I'm supposed to do in the
Okay.
day. In the afternoon, which one have you done? So, that kind of reminder, that kind
Yeah.
of constantness helps. And it's because I'm likable, that's why they would do stuff like
Yeah.
that for me. And then Nigeria, I'm still in Nigeria, so I obviously haven't figured out what to do. It just means I have to spend a lot of money to like survive Nigeria, provide light for myself, provide internet for myself, allow police to harass me. When we're coming here, we are stopped at like 5
No
checkpoints.
way.
Yeah, because we are young looking, fresh looking gentlemen. And they kept on asking us to come down to search us. But yeah, those have been some of the challenges, and this is how I've scaled them.
That's cool. Over to you, Ayamatanga.
I think the biggest problem I faced in my career is very cultural. I like to tell people that we live in a very low quality environment. So, because we live in a low quality environment,
Low quality problems.
you have access and you work with a lot of low quality people. So I'm someone that I've always strive for excellence, in things that I do. So each time, Osita does something, you can tell that okay, it's Osita that did this thing. There is always, a level of finesse. You can just see the excellence in it, right? But you work with a lot of people that these things don't matter to. So I like to give you an example of a typical plumber that comes to fix a pipe, and there's this little bit of it that he didn't quite finish well, and then you say, Chief, this thing now you didn't do it well. The next thing you hear is "Omepenoye Afia." Like, can anybody see it? You
Yeah.
understand? So
Yeah.
people don't want to do things and do it very well. So I've always found it frustrating. It's something that I've always had to battle with. Most of the time I come to the workplace and almost everybody doesn't like Osita. Whenever we're in
I
feedback
like you. I
session,
like you.
whenever we're in feedback sessions, people are saying that Osita shouts too much. He's always barging us. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. He's always shouting. And it's born out of frustration. I get frustrated a lot when I'm doing things with people. I remember there was a time I used to be a thorn in Ezra's flesh. When we're working together on the learnable program. So I told Ezra that one of the things that you need to be able to do in life, you need to be able to build like resilience, mental fortitude, emotional fortitude. You just need to be able to stretch yourself, right? So, what this guy would go home every day, 9 o'clock, I'll text him, he's asleep. So I
I
came
mean, she didn't
Work
know
life
sleep.
balance. Work life
so I
balance.
came up with this strategy that we'll stay at the office morning till evening. It's in the evening, maybe like 4:30. I'll tell him, okay, do this thing. I'll check it out by 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Yeah. And then he'll go back to the house and he'll think I'm kidding. 1 a.m. I'll go and text him, bro, how far? Have you done this thing? And then he now starts, scampering around. I remember a time that he would drink coffee, do this one. I stressed, I was just like, and it eventually became valuable to him because there was a time that he now had to, there was this thing he was doing when you were doing the deal thing
Yeah.
that he now had to work during the day and work at the night time. And those things, came into play. I just think that, people around here need to take themselves more seriously. It's very important. I've always had problems, with people that, can't take themselves seriously. And then, as for some of the other problems that I've had times where my brilliance wasn't enough and it frustrated the hell out of me, yes. So, I remember when we wanted to build, one of the most frustrating things I've done in my life was when we tried to build Dev Studio. We tried to build the software agency at Genesis. And, in the usual manner, Namu says, Osita, I think you can do this, go and run point on it. So everything was good, personnel, structure, framework, everything. There comes the human beings. You don't realize that you have to deal with people. Their quirks, their what and their idiosyncrasies. So I had to deal with people. I had to deal with a whole lot of. And my brilliance wasn't enough. I had to talk to some people say you need to be more empathetic. Everybody can't move at jet speed. Everybody can't do this. Everybody can't do that. I worked with some of the most frustrating people in leadership as well. They are my friends, but when I worked with Ima and Mong, trying to build that kind of work relationship with them, I realized that being friends with people and having to work with them, different ball games,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It didn't work out. I like to call it like my biggest failure, in my career. It didn't work out.
You mean the dev studio or
Yeah,
working with your
no,
friends?
the dev studio thing.
Okay.
It didn't work out for me because what I had pictured in my mind
Okay.
isn't what happened eventually. It still exists today,
Okay.
in its own. I mean, someone else took over. I was able to build on some of the things that
Okay.
I've done. So yeah, it was a big challenge that I faced. There are times that I'll lie down on my bed at night and I'll just be staring at the ceiling and I'll question my abilities and question myself and say, this bad guy that you think you are you sure that you are that bad guy? And so I had problems with those things. I've always had problems working with people. I've always had problems working with people. It's always been something that I found difficult to figure out. I think I figured it out now. It's easier
Okay.
for
How
me
do you
now.
overcome them? How do you overcome the people factor?
The people factor.
Because he mentioned empathy, and you don't quite agree with that.
Well, I mean, it's good to be empathetic, but I'm the kind of person that I believe that people should be held accountable, right? So if you say I'm going to do this thing on Tuesday, I should be able to hold you to your word that you do it on Tuesday. And one of the ways I've realized that you can influence people and get them to do the things you want them to do is by leading by example. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I've been in situations where people say that, please, it's Osita that I'm submitting this thing to. I don't want to holler. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
And it's not just because you're going to shout at them. I don't even think I shout that much anymore. But it's because they know that if it was Osita that was going to do this thing, he's going to, deliver like a certain quality of
Yeah.
thing. So people, also
Yeah.
want to match that kind of thing. So I've seen that it's my own way of influencing people, right? So people look at me and they see this guy that knows how to do things, right? And if you want to do your own, you probably
to
want
meet
to
up to
match
that
what
standard,
I'm doing.
yeah.
I just think that I've found it as my own way of influencing people, and I
Okay.
think it works for me.
Okay, he mentioned empathy, and you think leading by example.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think I follow your story a lot. So on Ezra's story, you either see him swimming or doing one fun thing. I didn't even see the stress in your work. Oh. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance?
Yeah, I won't call you obsessed or a fan, but
You're
I'll
not
just-
upset. You just come up on my story swimming.
All right. But yeah, so I think I had to be intentional about it.
Okay.
There was the time Osta was talking about where I had to work 18 hours daily. I would do 7 to 4, I would do 5 to 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I was plagued with migraines upon migraines upon migraines. I couldn't function. I didn't have a social life. Some weekends I would even work weekends, and I was literally just working so that I'll get paid at the end of the day. But what would I use the money for? Nothing, because I never had any of that stuff. And for a while, it was just there. Next thing, I got into a relationship, so it was also there. But at some point, I decided I needed to prioritize platonic friendships, and I took 2 of my friends to Uyo. We spent the weekend at Uyo, watched the Nigerian team play. The first time I swam. It was horrible. I almost died multiple times. But I did that. And then I was like, this is fun. Then 2 weeks later, I took 9 of my friends. We went to Ibom Resort, spent an extended weekend. We were in a cabana that was in front of the pool. So you would wake up, you go to the gym, there's a sauna there, you heat up, and then you just walk into the pool. It was the life. I was like, I fuck with this. So we came back, and then we now decided that we'll make it a thing. So every week we'll pick a pool and go. And then we couldn't swim. We were horrible at swimming, but we started practicing, and everybody improved. So I decided that I was going to ensure I brought balance to my life, especially because I was making all this money. I was not applying it in actual things. I would just do it for more work and more work and more work, or maybe send to family. So I decided to be more intentional. So I started doing things like having a work laptop and a personal laptop, so that if I'm traveling, I go with my personal laptop, just Netflix that's there. My work laptop, it has MDM, so I can't even do any non-work things there. Number one. I also decided to also start doing things that will form my week. So in a week, I swim like twice.
Okay.
Thursdays and Fridays, I go to church twice. Sundays and Wednesdays, amen. I also, amen. Osita called me yesterday after work. He was like, nah, Ez, I'm coming to your house. I said, I'm in church, my brother. He said, church? Church? I was insulted because I always go to church. Love you, mom. Love you, dad. And, there was that also. Then I also decided, so we started hosting game nights, Friday nights at the house, where we just chill into the next morning. And because the game nights were like 10 p.m. to like 6 a.m., I would need to sleep half of Saturday. So I was able to not even work weekends. So I started forcing that. And then it also meant I had to be more productive during the day so that I can find time to do other things. Because if I did finish work and I went to swim, the work will be waiting for me and the deadlines will be waiting for me. I've not figured that out yet entirely because there's still some work waiting for me, obviously. But there has to be intentionality in trying to balance out work. And it doesn't have to be healthy balancing like swimming. You could go to the club every night, for instance. You could, go triathlon, country mile running and all of that stuff. You could, like whatever it is, but you need to do something that is not work, that you can do as a reward for doing your work. So swimming evening, you did good job, go and swim. Going to the club at night, you delivered your deliverables, you can go and get inebriated, all of that stuff. So that's what I've been doing. So work is difficult, work is stressful, but you put effort, you do your work, you have time to do other things.
And you've been intentional about it.
Yes, you have to be very intentional about it.
All right, Osita.
About me, how I balance work and life.
Okay,
Do you
maybe the first
balance-
question would
do
be
you
do you
balance
balance?
work and
Yeah,
life?
do you have a work-life balance?
I think for me, the lines are very blurry. I work whenever. So I'm somebody that I find it difficult to regiment myself. So I think the biggest thing that I have done, there was this period in my life, for a period of like 3 years, I was running for 30 minutes every morning. That's the biggest feat that I've had. Like, so for me, a lot of the time things are blurred. You can catch me working at 2 a.m. You can catch me
Of
chilling
course
at
you're
10
working
a.m.
at 2
You can
a.m.
catch me chilling at 10 a.m. I'm Netflixing, doing this or reading a book or something. So for me, the lines are very blurry. But one thing that I've always done is that I always find time to go and have fun. So sometimes you can catch me in the evening at my favorite spot playing snooker, or on a Friday night, you catch me raising my hands and standing on the chair somewhere in the club. That's where the popular name
Ayamatanga.
That's what popularized the name. So I find time. I definitely find time to do some of these things, but it's not as clear cut as area zone where you say, okay, this is the time for this and this is the time for that. For me, it's mostly the lines are blurry, but you know that I'm chilling. I don't kill myself. But these days, if I try to keep two late nights, like if I try to work through the night for 2 days, I'll start having headaches all over the place. So it's not like when I was in my 20s that I could pull all-nighters and shit like that. I can't do that anymore. But yeah, I like to tell people, or I like to advise them, always make out time for fun, make out time for family, make out time for your friends. So your times I go visit Ezra, visit Iski. I have a girlfriend. So I go spend time with her, and things like that. So it's very, very important that you do things like that. So that you won't run mad, because
It's
a lot of things are always going on in my
yeah.
head, and there's a tendency for it to get very crazy. So you definitely need some time to blow off steam.
Impressive. So you mentioned having challenges like people, and you still overcome them. But then sometimes when it's not working, how do you still stay motivated?
How I stay motivated?
Yes, to just do the work, irrespective of challenges, people, Nigeria, all of those things. How do you still stay motivated?
I'm going to borrow a line from MI.
Okay.
I impress myself, and I'm God's child too, so I bless myself. So everything that I do by myself. Whenever I'm lacking motivation, I'll go and sit down inside my house.
And motivate
Yes, I'll
yourself.
start telling myself. I tell myself things about myself. I say, remember when you did this? That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
gangster. You
yeah,
Yeah.
can remember
yeah.
this other time you did this as well. That was gangster. And if you could
Nice.
do A, B, and
You
C,
can do
you can
this one.
definitely do this. So
Self motivation.
yeah, I like to motivate myself a lot. There are times when it doesn't work. Don't get me wrong. There are times when I actually do question myself. So, but anytime I do it, I know the people to call that will tell me that no, now we know you. Like we know you very well. This thing that you're thinking is a lie. It's just because you're in a bad place. We are telling you that
You
that
can do
thing that
it.
you think that you're in. So
So your circle of friends. So
yeah,
self motivation and your circle
in
of
my circle of
friends.
friends,
Nice.
great, amazing people.
Cool.
Nkenda is one of them. Sometimes I call him and tell him that I'm having headache and we feed off each other. And when we are done, we are edified, by the power of our words.
Nice. How about you, Ezra? How do you stay motivated?
Well, I have a therapist.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
obviously.
Gen
Yeah.
Z.
Yes, I have a therapist, a very old white lady, nice, churchy, and all of that stuff. There's that. And then because for the longest, I didn't really introspect.
Okay.
Usta is a deep thinker, and it's not just thinking in terms of like solutions, like you're trying to do something. It's even like thinking like in general, like thinking, right? I don't do that a lot. Thinking is usually, oh, I have a task to achieve. How do I achieve this? But I don't do a lot of self introspection, like, oh, how could I do this better?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of that, for the longest time, I was just coasting.
Okay.
She wouldn't really get me down. I think ultimately, everyone needs a support system. For someone that, like me, I didn't used to introspect a lot. I needed to have a therapist that would tell me, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you can do better. And then I've had a lot of unqualified therapists, my friends, like Osita has mentioned, that would just call and say, this is the rot I'm facing, and they will do that. And then ultimately, actually, my managers have also been there. There are times, very few times, because as we've established earlier, we're brilliant people. Very few times where I'm truly stumped at something and I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do, especially if it's something systemic.
Okay.
And I would just go to Namu, I'll go to Ekene, and they would now sit and say, okay, do it this way, and a solution comes out, and then I'm better off. So those are the things I've been able to use to cope.
Okay, so you're a therapist and also your circle of friends
And my managers.
and your managers.
Yes.
Cool. So we're almost rounding up this. And trust me, this session has been interactive, insightful, and I'm having a good time. Are you guys having a good
Yeah, I'm
time?
having a good time. I'm having a great
I'm
time.
Ezra.
having a great time. This is the
Oh.
best time of my life. This is the best thing I
Now
wanted
you're
to do on
being
my
sarcastic,
birthday.
please. All right, so before we go, what's your favorite thing that Tech Life has afforded you?
Yeah, Ezra should go
You
first.
go first. You go first.
Why?
You go first.
Why?
My mentor should
Okay,
go
okay,
first.
yeah. Mentor, go first.
My favorite thing that
Tech has
Tech
got
has
to you.
afforded
has
you.
afforded me.
Yeah, it mustn't be material. I mean, anything.
I mean, I think I'll talk about the material things, but not really for myself.
Okay.
I think it's just being able to make, the people around you happy. I mean, there was this time that, my mom was going through it emotionally and stuff. And, she had been telling me that, man, that she wants to get a new phone, that maybe I should find out a new phone, that this is what her budget is. So if I find it, she can give me the money, I'll buy it for her and stuff like that. And then I'm just coming out from the office one day and I say, hey, I need to do something great for my mom. And I just walk into the mall and buy it. And I didn't even think about how much it cost me because I had the money. So, I mean, that's something that, Tech Life has been able to afford me, being able to do things for the people around you. There are a lot of other experiences, doing something really great for my dad on his birthday, contributing to all of my siblings, helping them get their car. It's just things like that. I that's something that I like.
Okay. How about you, Ezra? Are you
Yeah.
ready?
Well, I'm always ready. Yeah, I think I would talk about it from two perspectives: Osta's perspective and my perspective.
Okay.
So yes, it's especially when you don't have a money-based value system where you're not crazed about having money, but you're crazed
Okay.
about what money can do. My dad's house, we've built it for him. my mom's going to the village and she doesn't want, I say, don't worry, I'll send the driver, all this kind of stuff, making the life of people around you. Also help me romance, because there's no romance without money, obviously.
Preach.
And I did the romance so well, all thanks to the money from tech. But then also on a personal basis, I've always liked to travel.
Okay.
I've always had a more refined palate and taste than I could fund. I've
Okay.
liked exotic food, exotic places, but I stayed in Abakaliki all my life. So with tech, well, not all, but like with tech, it afforded me the luxury of traveling, the luxury of, I see, oh, Lagos, there's an opera in Lagos. I booked my flight. In fact, a lot of times, there were times that I was going for a wedding, Osita said, who's getting married? And that morning, he'll book a flight and we'll go to Abuja together, spend the weekend there. Those ease of doing things,
Yeah.
helping people around, and then buying cool stuff for yourself. I love gadgets.
Okay.
So I have a gadget for everything.
Oh, wow.
Kenna is always talking about my gadgets and stuff. So it has also been nice.
Wow, interesting. So, guys, before we go, would you love to play some games?
Of course.
Of course.
Okay, let's do this. So we're going to start off with knowing or getting to know how well you guys, you said there's a relationship. Not even you saying, I feel like there's a connection, a chemistry between both of you. So let's see how well.
There's Chude, what's this thing? First time I
Okay, I saw that
What's this
interview.
chemistry?
Yeah, I saw that interview.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, so, but do you agree?
Yes, of
There's a
course.
chemistry.
I don't know how well I know him, but
But
I mean, we'll find out.
Okay.
That's what the game is for.
Okay, just simple questions. So, how did he earn the name Ayamatanga?
He gave himself the name Ayamatanga. There was a movie he watched, and they were Ayamatanga. They were worshiping the Ayamatanga, and then he made it his Twitter moniker. And then he started going to the club frequently. So anytime he entered any club, you hear, Ayamatanga, get money. And that was literally how Ayamatanga stuck. And now, you're calling him Ayamatanga.
Yeah, I like the name actually.
Of course you do. You've not called him Osita for once.
Except in the introduction.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so over to you, Ayamatanga. What's with Ezra and his love for senators?
Okay, so senators is how you know that someone has made it in life. So this place that Ezra is now, I was there 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
So yes, when I said, to say, what does an Enugu nigga do when he starts getting real money?
He's
Call Chaiko,
cogent.
make some senators, and wear it all the days of the week. So 2 years ago, when I started touching some real money, I went and made like 10 senators at the same time, and I was wearing it every day. So that's where Ezra is now, and that's why.
Ezra, so is it that in 2 years' time you stop, like you go back to this?
You don't go back to this. Oh no, I might progress. I might wear like a white robe. I do it. It depends. Like we can. Let's see.
Okay, all right, cool. So moving on, this is the second category. It's general knowledge. So Ayamatanga, what's the full meaning of KSS?
Knowledge sharing session.
Ooh, brilliant.
Oh, that's not what is behind you.
So you cheated. All right, the hard one goes to you. What's the full meaning of OPEC?
OPEC.
Yeah.
What do you think it means? That is, you stumped me. Oh my God. Oil, petrol. Wait. Organization of
What?
Petroleum Exporting Countries.
Sorry?
Organization.
Why can't I hear you well again?
Organization. OPEC. C stands for countries. E stands for exporting. O stands for oil producing exporting countries.
Final answer.
Wait, there are two options. And this is me just being pedantic, just so that this show can be
you're
nice.
well traveled, you're
God.
brilliant.
I'm well traveled. Did I buy oil as I was traveling around? So it's either Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries or that's it basically.
Mentor.
That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
It's not what it is. You don't know what
What do you say again? Organization of.
Petroleum exporting countries.
Oh, cool.
What did you hear though?
I thought you said of. There was, you said backwards, so there was a mix-up kind of.
Okay, I think it's a
cool.
you thing.
Okay. So you guys have been doing great. So this is the last category, and if you fail it, everything is cancelled.
Okay, but if we get it though, what happens?
Then you're really brilliant. So this proves if you're actually brilliant. So at the end of this show, you're not going to say yes or no.
All right.
Do you get?
Sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh. I mean, there's no yeah, there's no yes or
He
no.
said yes or no. He said yeah.
Okay, yes or no. Okay, yeah, there's no yes or no. All right, so just like humans, camels have two eyelids. True or false?
True.
True.
Final answer.
True.
Sure.
Why are you guys looking at me like that?
You're talking to us. You,
Okay.
you know what? Somebody else from the audience, please come so we can look at you.
Okay, cool. So next question. So what's it called when a player scores 2 goals?
A brace.
Ooh, are you sure?
3 hat trick.
Final answer.
2 brace, 3 hat trick.
Brilliant,
1.
guys. Brilliant, guys. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching the KSS. If you've not subscribed, now is the right time to do so. Please do well to hit the subscribe button now, and we'll see you in the next one. But before we go, what do you have to say to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, stay great. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, whatever it is, as long as it's good.
Okay, Ezra.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to the KSS.
Exactly.
thingy.
Subscribe to the KSS.
And, ultimately, just constantly remind yourself that there are 2 people that are smarter than us in this world, always, Osita and Ezra.
Guys, I'm speechless. Just ignore that. Subscribe to our channel now, and I'll see you in the next one. My name is Poppy Kalu. Bye.